Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Wild World podcast, Third Time's a Charm. My name is Thomas and I'm the voice from the YouTube videos, and I'm joined by my co-host Mika.
Hi there.
Hello, and this is a podcast all about wildlife and animals. We talk about zoology, paleontology and cryptozoology. But first, we're going to start with some wildlife in our own lives, I guess. So has there been anything on your wildlife radar recently?
This weekend I went hiking, and similar to last weekend, I saw some chipmunks, but I also saw a lot of ground squirrels, and they're different. They're different, as you know, sure? because I complained about your images of ground squirrels that were supposed to be chipmunks last week. But there were some people there at the hike, and they were saying, "Oh, I think that one's the female and that one's the male." And I was like, actually that one's a chipmunk, and that other one's a ground squirrel. And they were like, "Oh." And then I took some pictures, and the ground squirrels were really, really curious about people because I guess people feed them there, which you're not supposed to do, by the way. And so I was taking pictures, and the squirrel got up really, really close to my camera, and it was adorable. So that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Sorry for choosing the wrong video. It was labeled chipmunk, but I guess I should have looked at it more closely. Yeah. I don't really have too much on mine. Anything wildlife related I've been looking into is really topics that will probably come up in the news. So maybe we could jump right into that, actually.
Oh, I did think of one other thing, though, first.
Sure.
It's still moth season over here. So I said last week that a bunch of moths were in my house, and I've learned more about them since then. And I'm in the path of a moth migration. They're migrating.
Wow.
From the plains to the mountains, and in between they get stuck in houses due to light. Like, I've been closing all of my blinds because I don't want them to get confused. But the thing is, people will always kill them because they're a pest, right? Like, they're in your house. But they're not the kind of pest that's gonna multiply inside your house, because that's not what they're there for, since they're trying to go to the mountains. I mean, I don't think they're gonna multiply. But the thing is, they're pollinators of, like, the mountain flowers and crops and everything. And the bears eat them. The bears are coming out of hibernation right now, and they're gonna eat them. They eat like 4,000 of them a day.
Wow.
So each one that dies in my house is one less moth for a bear to eat.
Bear starves.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Can you imagine eating 4,000 moths?
Ugh, I don't want to imagine that.
I don't even want to imagine eating one moth, but 4,000, like, I wonder if they like just open their mouth really wide and go, ah, or if they eat them one at a time. I don't know.
Did you say in a day they eat that many?
I thought so. Yeah, I think that's what I read. That's why there's so many in everyone's houses.
4,000 moths. How do those bears have time to do anything else?
I don't know. Maybe they have, like, sticky tape and they just wave it around.
Yeah, maybe one bear shines like a torch on another bear's face. Okay, so don't kill moths if you live in areas that are on their migration route.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't kill moths in general. Like, even if they seem like they're just a pest, they're probably important to someone or something.
All right, don't kill moths. So, should we move on to news, or do you have anything else?
Yeah, we can move on to wildlife in the news.
Yeah, or wildlife news.
Wildlife in the news.
What's wrong with wildlife news? It sounds fine. It sounds punchier.
I think wildlife in the news sounds more exciting. Whatever. How about you can vote if you're listening? Which sounds cooler, wildlife news or wildlife in the news? Let us know.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to start with a story, or will I start with a story?
Okay, sure. So this is a story that I've had in my list of interesting stories for a while, like probably over a year. So it's not news, but it probably is, because I don't know anyone else who would have read this. So it's
irrelevant old news.
It's not irrelevant.
Okay.
So just listen up. All right. This is about the discovery of a new species called Titanochorus gainesi, I think, otherwise known as Titan's helmet. It's a really big creature from the Cambrian period that is basically just a big head. a big swimming head. It's a radiodont, which is a group of arthropods that split from what would become spiders, insects, and horseshoe crabs over 520 million years ago. And it was found, the first specimen ever was found in Canada, the Burgess Shale. So they had previously found other similarly weird creatures in that area of Canada. Yeah. And that were also really big. Like one was supposed to look like the Millennium Falcon, I think. Like just, yeah, sort of weird creatures.
Like its head or its entire body?
I guess its entire body. I don't know.
Wow.
But specifically this one, it's supposed to be one of the first predators ever because predation as a strategy seemed to have evolved in the Cambrian period.
That's cool.
It has a circular mouth with flesh-dripping teeth, spiny appendages before its mouth, and large compound eyes on the back of its head. So it can't see its prey with its eyes, but it can probably see other predators or threats with its eyes. So what do you think it ate if it had a circular mouth with sharp teeth?
Circular mouth with sharp teeth. I'm not super familiar with species from the Cambrian. Some early versions of fish?
Maybe, but I think it said in this article that the vertebrates at this time were very small.
Was it like a filter? No, it wouldn't be a filter feeder. Then it wouldn't be a predator.
So it's interesting.
How did it hunt if it wasn't looking at its prey? Did it just...
Probably with its little appendages. Or, they think it skimmed the bottom of the water. So maybe it was just skimming and picking up everything with its mouth. Yeah. So my other question about this is, what would you do if your head was half the length of your body?
So do you mean I'm my current height, but my head increases, or I completely change?
Whichever one.
So basically my head was like 2.5 feet, no, more than that, whoops, closer to 3 feet long. What would I do? I don't know, join a circus or something? Hide from the government?
Cool. Well, if you couldn't hide from the government, good luck with that huge head.
Wear a lot of hats?
If they could fit.
What would you do?
I would try to see how much food I could fit in my mouth, as I'm sure Titanosaurus gainaceae did often. But yeah, that's my first story about wildlife in the news.
Cool.
You guys should look it up. There's like a video of what it's supposed to look like. So it's pretty interesting.
Oh, like an artist imagining or something?
No, a real video.
Okay. I guess I might go into the stories about the cheetahs in India.
Okay.
So you might have heard this over the last few years. They're trying to reintroduce cheetahs into India because they've been extinct since the 1950s due to being hunted and habitat loss.
Extirpated, right? Not extinct, extirpated. Extinct means they're nowhere in the world, and extirpated means they're not in the place where they used to be.
Oh, can you not say extinct in India?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, a lot of articles need to be corrected then. But anyway, yeah, so in the last few years, they've been trying to reintroduce them. And so far, I think they have about 20 that they have from Africa, from South Africa and Namibia. And the plan is to get up to 50 within the next 10 years and release them. But the story has come up again recently in the news because of some controversy, as 3 of the cheetahs have died. And there are some other criticisms as well, like the place where they're planning to release all the cheetahs. It's a national park. It's called Kuno National Park. Probably saying that wrong. But Kuno National Park is 500 square miles, which sounds pretty big, but apparently that's way too small for 50 cheetahs. Apparently they need closer to thousands of square miles, I guess, to roam around in. And yeah, so there's sort of been a lot of back and forth as to whether this is a good idea or if this is a good idea being implemented poorly. And there's a lot of it seems to be politics behind the scene. For example, people are saying, well, there are other parks you could release them into. They don't all have to be in this park. But it seems that other parks are run by other local governments who are in opposition to this original local government. I don't know if this is going to work out. It does. And another thing is that the cheetahs that they've brought so far, only three have been released and the rest are still in captivity. And yeah, and some of them have died. One was a pre-existing condition. One, I'm not sure, and another was a female who was put into an enclosure with other male cheetahs and died in like a vicious mating attempt, I guess. Yeah, and then there was a Supreme Court hearing about this issue, and the judges ruled that Kuno National Park was unfit for this amount of cheetahs. The quote is, "There is too much concentration of cheetahs in one place, but it may be too late for the ruling, or the ruling may not actually change anything." Do you have any thoughts? Do you think it's, well, first of all, do you think it's worth trying to reintroduce them into India?
I don't see why it wouldn't be worth trying to introduce them into India. I like every sort of rewilding attempt. I think what you said, I think it's a good idea poorly implemented because India has a lot of regional politics. I think they should try to introduce the cheetahs into all the suitable national parks. Get those out of captivity as soon as possible because it's not good for them. And in regards to genetic diversity, like frequent capture and re-releases every few generations or so to keep the gene flow going. I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. It's also like 50 within 10 years seems pretty low. I don't know if that would be enough. Yeah, I don't know about the cheetahs dying in captivity. Some Indian scientists have said that's to be expected.
But yeah, they also said that there have been some cheetahs already born in the wild there, so...
Yeah, I think, I don't know if these were born in the wild, but they said 4 cheetahs have been born. Maybe they're the ones in the wild. Yeah, so that's a bit concerning. Supposedly the local government has called for an investigation, but I don't know if that will change anything.
Yeah, it's just upsetting because I feel like they're not going to implement it well, and I have a good idea of how they could make it better, but it's not going to happen, so yeah.
It's also interesting when you read like 500 square miles isn't enough, because I feel like for a lot of people, and this kind of bleeds into cryptozoology as well, not to take the conversation there, but often there'll be like a habitat of some kind and claims of an extinct animal still being there, and it will be a large place, but really it's hard to visualize how big some places really have to be. Like 50 cheetahs doesn't sound like a lot, you know?
Sounds like a lot to me.
For 500 square miles? Well, yeah, okay, but if you didn't know much about wildlife.
Well, that's why I'm saying that they should spread them. It's a good amount, but they should spread them over all the national parks over the whole country. Because this is what is done, like Africa, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to say all of Africa, but I specifically read about this in South Africa. They have a really great, in my opinion, system for managing these populations, because a lot of the wild land actually isn't wild, and it's game reserves owned by private landowners to make money from tourism. And what they do is with all these populations of like lions and cheetahs, stuff like that, is they intentionally plan the family groups. They pair up cats together, and then they wait for them to mate. And then, as it naturally would happen in a unbroken wild habitat, they'll move the babies to different ones and redistribute them. So they manage the game reserves in a way that it's as if the population is living on a much bigger area. And I think that's exactly what they should do in India.
Right.
Like one cheetah in one national park, that sounds great for that cheetah. Or maybe 2, and then they can mate. Versus all 50 in one small area. They're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully some changes will be implemented, but it's hard to say right now. But yeah, that's that story. Do you have anything else you want to talk about in the news?
Yes, I have an uplifting story. Well, I think so anyway. About mountain gorillas. So, according to a study, mountain gorillas are better than any other primate at recovering from traumatic childhoods.
Wow.
So, other primates have been found to live shorter lives if they experience hardship in childhood, and that includes baboons and humans.
Oh, so these mountain gorillas are even better at humans at recovering from trauma?
Well, yeah, whoever said that humans are great at recovering from trauma?
Yeah, but
I don't know anyone who says, oh yeah, humans, trauma is nothing to them, they recover from it. But that's what they're saying about mountain gorillas.
Okay.
Mountain gorillas, if they had hardship in childhood, they tend to live longer lives. The reasoning is that as baby gorillas, they had to be very strong to survive so much. I wouldn't say the same of humans, because humans don't have to be individually strong to survive trauma, because there's like society, you know?
Yeah.
Society.
That's why I was surprised. I would have thought like there are more ways to deal with trauma if you're a human.
Well, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
So the mountain gorillas must be very strong then if they've experienced trauma. And they also have a very flexible and tolerant social structure where, I mean, sometimes they will tolerate maybe multiple males, or like the family structure doesn't have to be the same every time, so it can accommodate individuals with different life paths. And mountain gorillas are vegetarian. So it has been said that mountain gorillas are vegetarians living in a salad bowl. They don't have to worry about food. And so this is another theory about what makes one animal better at recovering from trauma than another, is that if you are stressed about resources, you're not going to bounce back that well. Like, let's say you grow up really poor as a human, and then you're trying to pull yourself out of that, and there's no food or no jobs or no housing, whatever. Yeah. That's going to be hard for you to recover from your trauma. Versus a mountain gorilla, it's like, okay, my parents died. I don't know, something bad happened to me. But now I've escaped and there's food everywhere. I have friends. Like, I don't need to worry about anything. So that's what seems to be behind it.
Interesting. So it's like social structure plus resources equals happy gorillas?
Yep. So it equals happy anyone, I suppose. So if humans had more of a flexible and tolerant society, as well as food that you could just take off of any part of your world, like if you had grapes growing on the side of your house and you could pluck apples from the sky at any time, like that would probably help humans.
Yeah, I guess I spoke foolishly when I said humans have more capabilities of recovering. I just thought, like, in our society, we have therapy and different things to identify and deal with it, but
This is talking about humans of the whole earth, not like, humans who live in your neighborhood. I don't think the average human is getting therapy and stuff after they experience trauma, so.
Okay.
So we have a lot to learn from mountain gorillas.
Yeah.
Maybe if someone has trauma, we should just chuck them into a society full of mountain gorillas.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe we should build like a giant greenhouse and just jam pack it full of food resources and a lot of friendly people.
I think they probably have stuff like that already.
Yeah.
Like a commune for
or a cult maybe as well.
Well, a cult wouldn't.
Yeah, I know, that was a joke. Don't join a cult.
Yeah, but for real, it's very nice how mountain gorillas live. It seems that they are very supportive of each other.
Yeah, that is very uplifting. You usually don't hear too much happy news when it comes to gorillas, so that's nice.
Well, it's not all happy, because if they have this many gorillas to study that have traumatic childhoods, something's going on. Probably poaching.
Yeah, but almost all the news I hear about gorillas is poaching, so at least this is one silver lining.
At least they're being poached, but at least they're happy.
At least some of the survivors can recover from the experience.
Yes. Oh, and not only do they live longer, I think they also tend to have lots of kids. So they're passing on their resilience to the next generation.
Cool. Good for them.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
You have another story?
Yeah, I have one more story. And I want to thank a viewer for highlighting this. I wasn't sure if I was going to include it or not, but someone, a user by the name Yao Bikuni, have you ever heard of that?
I don't even know what you're saying.
It's YAOBIKUNI. Yao Bikuni. This is just the username, but it's based off a Japanese myth, I think. Yao Bikuni 9444 asked if we were going to talk about the orca attacks that have been happening recently. Have you heard about these?
Well, no. I mean, not until now. Not until planning this. Yeah.
Right. Well, basically, for those who don't know, there have been a few orca attacks off the coast of Portugal and Spain. Right away, I'll just add a disclaimer and say no one has been killed or injured, but there has been damage done to some boats. It seems that there are 2 different pods of orcas that have been attacking boats, specifically the rudders. And in 3 incidents, they've damaged the boat so much that it sank. And again, all the people were able to get rescued, but their boats were destroyed. And the last one was on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. So there are a couple of theories about this. So have you read the articles about this, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I was going to ask you to guess, but I guess you already know what the theories are. So I guess one is that they're basically getting revenge. So in one of the orca pods, there is a female orca called White Gladys. And I think her pod is made up of her daughters and maybe another female orca, maybe her sister or something. And there is some speculation that she had a traumatic incident when she was younger. Maybe she was caught in a fishing net or something. And now she's teaching the orcas to attack boats. And there's also another theory that it's just like a weird orca fad. Like it's the new fashionable thing for these orcas to do. Which I was looking up some other orca fads that have happened. Did you hear about that one that happened where they were wearing salmon hats?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the 1980s, I think it was, off the coast of Washington and Oregon, it seemed to start with one female orca who wore like a dead salmon on her head, like just above her mouth. And then within a period of 6 weeks, researchers noticed like over 30 different orca had copied her. And they were all wearing salmon on their heads as like weird hats. And then they just stopped. So just like this weird fashion trend that happened. And it seems to be influenced by the young in the group. The young seem to be the trendsetters, the influencers. Apparently dolphins do the same. They don't seem to have a definitive answer. Do you have any theories or opinions?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because a lot of the orcas have scars from getting caught in fishing related incidents. So that's why the first theory came up. But if you think about all the orcas that have been threatened by humans in the past who never attacked humans, they're thinking that maybe that's not a good explanation. Like revenge isn't a good explanation, especially because they didn't try to hurt any of the people in the boats. They just sank them.
Yeah, and the fact that they specifically went for the rudder, it feels like, I mean, the orcas are super smart, but I don't think they're like, let's hit the rudder so they can't turn anymore.
So I feel like I like the fad idea because imagine you're swimming and the rudder probably makes a noise or some sort of disturbance in the water and you're with your friends, you're a teenager, you feel like you can take on the world, you're ready to have fun, and you're like, I dare you to stop that noise or stop that thing that's going on right there. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And then you swim up and you like destroy it. And then you get satisfaction because the rudder stops, the noise or the disturbance in the water stops, and it probably feels pretty fun. So, yeah.
Do rudders make noise?
Well, I'm saying if you're under the water, maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing is they're mostly the same type of boat as well. They're around the same size and the same kind of sailboat. So it really seems more like a fad, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think they're just having a good time.
Yeah, that's probably...
It's like cow tipping. I mean, people who go cow tipping aren't looking for revenge on cows.
Cow tipping is fake,
Is it fake? Oh, well, I'm sure...
I heard recently that it was just made up.
Oh, well, I'm sure there are things that teenage boys or teenage people do that aren't made up. And I don't think it's for revenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, think of all the, like, vandalism and stuff. That's just done because someone will think it'd be funny to smash something.
Yeah.
But
this story did remind me of Avatar 2 again. because of the whale, spoiler alert, the whale that, had been victimized before, and then it takes it upon itself to destroy the vessel. It's pretty good.
Yeah, to fight back.
Yeah.
So another thing is that Yao Bikuni 9444 asked me to talk about an ancient whale called, it's a Greek name, Porphyrios. I think Porphyrios.
Okay.
And this was, so I just looked into this very briefly. We're not going to talk about it too much. I might actually make a video about this. But this was in the 6th century off the coast of Constantinople. There was some whale that over the period of something like 50 years, it was like kept attacking and harassing ships. So much so that the emperor got involved and like put out a decree to kill it.
Did they kill it?
Yeah.
They did?
No spoilers.
Okay.
Or maybe I can give a little spoiler. No, they didn't. They didn't kill it.
So it's probably still out there.
Well, no, there's more to the story. I don't think it's still out there. But yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder what was going on with that whale.
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know, but I'll be looking into that and hopefully making a video about it maybe in the future. But anyway, yeah, that's the orca, the rowdy teenage orcas. Should we move on to our next segment?
Sure.
What's our next segment?
Wild chat.
Wild chat. Oh yeah. I have a question for you that I was thinking of, if you'd like to answer. So we were talking about the cheetahs a few moments ago. So I was wondering, since you're someone who's into conservation and reintroduction and things like that, if you could reintroduce one species, which would you reintroduce? Which would you reintroduce? Where and why? And this is sort of a two-parter, because you can answer this firstly, like from an ecological perspective, where like, okay, this makes sense, and a just for fun answer where it could be like, I just want to bring this back and put it here, and it will magically just work. It will adapt. It won't cause any problems.
Okay.
So do you have anything in mind?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to only pick one, so I'll just tell you some things I thought of. One thing I thought of was the great auk, because it's so cool that we used to have penguins basically in the north. Like right now, children's books commonly make the mistake of thinking that all cold places have both penguins and polar bears. But the thing is, all cold places used to have something like a penguin. So it's really sad that the great auk seems to have just been hunted to extinction. Like that was the main or only cause. And imagine you go to see the polar bears and then you can also see a great auk.
Did polar bears prey on the great auk?
I'm not sure, but I know that people did. I mean, I know that they were hunted to extinction, and I also know that they were an important food source for like Native Alaskans or other Native people in the north, cold north.
Interesting. Yeah. And it was fairly big compared to like an emperor penguin, or bigger.
Let's see. Great auk versus emperor penguin. No, emperor penguins are way bigger than a great auk, I think.
Oh, I must be thinking of some prehistoric penguin or something.
Although it's really hard to get this information. Let's see, great auk versus human, and then I'll compare to emperor penguin versus human. Again, it doesn't. Oh wait, yeah, a great auk comes to a human's waist about, or a little lower than the waist, and an emperor penguin comes to way taller than a human. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's something called the mega penguin. Whoa. I don't know. Anyway, an emperor penguin comes to like a human's shoulder. So they're bigger than a great auk, but think about, there aren't just emperor penguins. There are a bunch of penguins in the south. And yeah. Yeah,
I was just thinking of them because they're big. An emperor penguin comes to a human's shoulder?
I guess so, yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. They're giants. I'm concerned.
So I would like to reintroduce great auks because it's really messed up that we just killed them for no reason. And... It's really messed up that we just killed them for hunting, and they were like really a cool part of the ecosystem that just isn't around anymore. So my second idea, they're sort of related to each other, would be to reintroduce the moa, because the moa is another one of the tragic historical happenings that, makes me sad. Because moas are really cool. Weren't moas like the biggest bird ever?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean... Moas are also several species, so I don't know how this fits with your question of where I can only bring back one, but I would bring back a moa, whatever moa.
The biggest one, maybe?
And, yeah, sure, like the giant moa. The thing about that is, well, in New Zealand, they've done a really great job of removing, the invasive species.
Really?
And the threats to the native wildlife. Yeah. And they even have this one part that is supposed to be certified only New Zealand wildlife. I think it's called Zealandia.
Oh, yeah, we wanted to go there.
Yeah, I want to go there really badly. But if you could bring back the moa, first of all, you could put it in there and it would be great. Everything would work out, I think. And then you could work on reintroducing it to the islands as a whole. But then, if I get to bring back the moa, I would be sad if I also didn't get to bring back the Haast's eagle.
Yeah. Thought you were going to go there.
Because the thing about the Haast eagle, you can't bring it back without the moa, because then it would just die again. It doesn't have anything to eat. Although I did consider What if you could bring the Haast eagle back and also introduce it to Australia and it could hunt all the rabbits and other invasive species? But it probably wouldn't work out.
Yeah, wouldn't it hunt cassowary and emus though?
Oh, yeah. Maybe. So, yeah, if I could bring back the moa, I'd also want a package deal to bring back the Haast eagle. Yeah, it would be awesome. Like, a Haast eagle would be so cool to see. It's so depressing.
Yeah. What if it attacks someone, though?
I know. I wish it would attack me. I want to be carried away by a Haast eagle.
Well, yeah.
Like, if I was going to be killed by one recently extinct creature, I would choose the Haast eagle because it would be a great way to go.
I'm glad you thought about this.
I thought about this a lot. It's because it's depressing in a way that I can't bring back everything, but it's also fun to imagine bringing back even one thing. Yeah. And so then my idea for something that isn't to restore an ecosystem, but is just for fun, and it will just adapt. I feel like you could guess what I want.
Is it a marine creature?
Yeah.
Is it a plesiosaur?
Yeah, it's only my favorite extinct animal, a plesiosaur. I would love to just dump a bunch of them in the ocean. And then next time you go scuba diving or, you know, go in a submarine or whatever people do in the ocean, that you have a chance of seeing one.
And because they're reptiles, they have to come close to the surface too, so...
Yeah. It would change my life. I would definitely immediately get a master's in like marine science if we could put all the plesiosaurs into the ocean.
Wow.
I would dedicate my life to to them.
Some shade on all the other marine creatures.
I would be a plesiosaur tour guide. Huh?
I said that's some shade on all the other marine creatures. None of them.
I know. But I just love plesiosaurs. They're so cute.
Is there any particular kind or any?
The best and biggest. The one with the longest neck.
Probably Elasmosaurus.
Sure. Oh, yeah, because I remember, this is really silly, but if you ever played the game Fossil Fighters, which I know you haven't, but...
No, I've seen it.
Fossil Fighters, it's like Pokemon, but with extinct animals.
Really cool idea.
I love Elasmosaurus on Fossil Fighters. I think Elasmosaurus might be my favorite fighter. Yeah. So it's just great. They'd be my friends. Or they might eat me. But again, I wouldn't mind. Are plesiosaurs, what do they eat?
I think they ate like things on the ocean floor. That's why they had the long neck, maybe.
Oh, so I'd be fine as long as I didn't like lie on the floor like a flounder.
Yeah, and I feel like their heads are kind of small, so maybe a human would be.
So I'd be safe.
Maybe.
I just want to tame them and ride around.
Yeah, I don't know if you do that part.
I bet I could. If I tell them that I'm the reason that they're alive, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have to answer the question now.
Okay. Do I have to try and also choose good for an ecosystem and just for fun?
Sure.
Well, this is one that came to my mind first, and you can tell me if it's good for the ecosystem or not. I'm not sure, but I feel like it probably would be because we hunted it to extinction. Do you know Stellar's sea cow?
Yes.
It was like a 30 foot long pinniped, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
I agree. That would be cool.
And that'd also be an eco tour I'd like to go on, see one of them.
Yeah.
And it's sort of sad that, again, they were hunted by us. Apparently because they had no fear of humans. We're very slow moving.
Yeah, I always hate that. Like, oh yeah, this creature died because it had no fear of humans. Like, that's cute. Because that's what was so cute about the groundhogs. Not groundhogs, what am I saying? Ground squirrels this weekend. Because they just came up to you and they were like climbing on you because they weren't afraid. That's what I want every animal to be like, ideally. I mean, yeah, if it could happen that way. All right. Yeah. Do you have one that was just for fun? T-Rex?
I mean, I guess, but imagine like going to Yellowstone. There's just a bunch of tyrannosaurs wandering around. I don't see how that could not be bad.
Because I don't know.
Maybe like an extinct big cat, like maybe a Smilodon or some other saber-toothed cat.
Oh yeah, like the American cheetah would be actually really good. I forgot about this. Because there used to be a type, I mean, it wasn't really a cheetah, but it had the same niche as a cheetah. And that's the reason pronghorns are so fast, they say, because they evolved to run away from a cheetah type creature. So if you could bring that back, imagine you're just like on a road trip and you look out the window and you see a bunch of pronghorns being chased by the American cheetah. I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Something like that would be cool.
Yeah. Or the Atlas lion or something, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Or a short-faced bear. Is that what it? Short-faced cave bear. There's just like, not only is there a huge list of cool extinct animals, there's a huge list of cool extinct animals that are extinct because of us. So, I mean, almost anything on that list.
Yeah. But since it's just for fun, we mostly talked about ones that, were removed by humans. So, I think it would be maybe more interesting to go back a little bit further, like to the cave bear. I guess they're removed by humans, but not in a malicious way, more in a Ice Age sort of way.
No, I was just going to say, I think there's a bunch of like Ice Age animals where it's like really ambiguous how much of a hand humans had in their extinction, like with mammoths.
Yeah.
I feel like I read a new article like every few months. Humans did have a big role to play in their extinction, and then barely had anything to do with us.
Yeah. So that is the one that I could see it just being for fun. Or, well, not mammoths exactly, because mammoths do have a pretty good ecological benefit, you could argue. That's why I did plesiosaur, because they've been extinct for so long, like, that is clearly just for fun.
Yeah.
You should have chosen Titan's helmet. The big head.
I don't really care about it.
Or what about, like, those huge centipedes, or those huge dragonflies, or, ooh.
No.
Or, no, that huge snake. That would be fun. The one that's really, really, really big.
How am I blanking on its name?
The Titanoboa? Is that it?
It's something you're really close. Might just be...
Let's see.
Titanboa? Is it Titanoboa?
Titanoboa, like I said. Why did you say I was really close? I was right.
Sorry. For some reason when you said that, I was like, oh, that's almost there. Titanoboa.
It's the Titanoboa. Maybe. That would be fun. Just plop it down.
Yeah.
Plop it down into someone's ceiling.
Yeah. Fall through the ceiling.
And that could be the matchup of the century. My introduced Haast eagle paired with, what was it? The introduced plesiosaur paired with, like, a Haast eagle versus plesiosaur versus Titanoboa. Who would win?
What a weird matchup. How are they even going to fight?
Well, they're just all my pet reintroduction projects. I don't know how they'd fight, but I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else to say for Wild Chat?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, we move on to the next segment.
Cryptid Court. I want either courtroom music or showdown, like what's it called? Mixed martial art. Showdown MMA. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. MMA, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I want just some really dramatic music for the introduction to Cryptid Court.
Did you like the music I used on the video?
I think so. I only remember the gavel though. But
maybe I need to improve the music then if it's not memorable. Anyway, I'll just explain what it is.
Make it a bit more epic.
Yeah. Okay, so Cryptid Court. Every week we use a generator to generate 3 random cryptids. We then make a poll on YouTube and you can vote as to which cryptid you want us to discuss and debate. And the way it works is one person will take the position of for its existence and the other person will take the opposite and say that it does not exist. And this week, the winner in the poll was, I hope I pronounced this right, Lukwata? Does that sound good?
I think it's more like Lukwata. It doesn't.
Lukwata, okay.
Whatever.
The Lukwata, which is or was maybe a lake monster reported from Lake Victoria. So I'll just say 4 then, since you're the biologist and you've taken an oath.
An oath? Okay.
You did take an oath, and you Okay, so...
I don't think I took an oath.
Yeah, so this is a lake monster from Lake Victoria, as I said. So Lake Victoria is on the African continent, lies between Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. It's a very big lake. I think it's like the second biggest freshwater lake by volume. Huge lake. It's called Lake Victoria because it was, quote, discovered in the 1850s by the British, and they decided to name it after their Queen Victoria. And before that, no one in the area noticed the giant lake that was there, I guess. So what is this monster? Now, there's a variety of descriptions, but most of them seem to be reptilian. So some kind of a large reptile, possibly a very big snake, or kind of a serpent creature anyway. Why is it called Lukwada? Is it Lukwada? Lukwada?
Yeah, more like Lukwada.
Lukwada. It's not entirely known. A lot of the investigation was done by Bernard Heuvelman, who was pretty much the father of cryptozoology. He, I think he coined the term in the 1950s. He wrote a book, In Search of Unknown Animals. He was a Belgian-French zoologist. So a lot of the sightings and info come from work that he did. He tried to figure out the etymology, why it was called this. There are some kind of weird explanations, like it was just someone trying to say in English, look at water, which he thinks is or he thought was ridiculous and probably not true. Apparently, the Lu part could signify giant in Ganda, although it could just be a generic term for like monstrous animal. You're smiling. Have I said something wrong?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so the sightings of this creature began in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Not so many in recent times. So if it did exist, which I'm arguing it did, it may be dead now. So R.I.P. I guess. So a lot of these sightings, I guess the records come from the British who, I don't know, were interviewed by Mr. Heuvelman. Some of the earlier sightings aren't really sightings. They're just that people have heard about a large creature that some of the locals talk about and are somewhat fearful of. Though there are some written accounts. So apparently, I'll just go for the most famous one and then you can jump in and say what you want to say. But an English diplomat, Sir Clement Lloyd Hill, apparently was on a steamboat going over Lake Victoria when he had a sighting of the creature, which was 20 to 30 feet long, huge giant head, followed the boat. There's different accounts, but in one of them, it tried to attack, it tried to pull someone off the boat before swimming away. But yeah, he that's probably one of the more famous ones. There's a few more sightings. I don't know. Do you want to jump in and say anything? I've been talking a lot.
Are you just going to go over all the sightings?
No, I'm just pointing them out to say, people seem to have seen something.
Yeah, so a lot of the accounts are from people who other people have said were reliable and wouldn't make something up just for sensationalism.
Yeah, so that was Hill's account, actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe Lukwata is just something like, obviously the people have a myth. It's a mythological creature in their, their religion. Whatever, it's a folktale. And so when they see something big on the lake, no matter what it is or what it looks like, they'll say, oh, it's a Lukwata. It's just a handy explanation for something weird happening on the lake. So I'm going to say that there isn't a creature Lukwata. It's just sometimes there are big snakes. Sometimes there are big fish. There are just various big things or interesting animals in there swimming around. And every sighting is a different one of those animals or something else, like just random. And it's not actually a cryptid. There's nothing to be found because it's just a handy explanation. That thing was a Lukwata.
Let me push back on that point a bit and ask then, why is there no more recent sightings? Why is it there was like a time period where there was a bunch of sightings and then it stopped? If it's just any big thing on the lake.
Maybe people got less superstitious. and they learned more about science, and they see animals, and now they say what they are.
So before they were seeing the animal, but they didn't know what kind of animal it was?
Yeah, maybe. Or they just immediately, their mind jumped to Luquata and they saw what they wanted to see. Or in the case of the British people, they don't have this myth. So they're like, oh, what's that thing? They ask a local person. The local person says, oh, you must have seen a Luquata, because it's their myth. Versus now, people have studied it, so.
In some cases, but some are first-hand accounts. If I could go, I want to talk about one more sighting really quick. This is from Major A.J. Ward of the King's African Rifles. So, this account is actually from his wife. So both of them apparently saw a 20 to 30 foot long humped animal on the shore that swam into the lake. I have a direct quote, but it's a bit long. I'll just read it really quickly. This is what the wife of the major said. As my husband and I approached the pier of the small jetty, I saw a bizarre object coming out of the papyrus swamp at the very edge of the water, and moving away at a brisk pace with vertical movement. I described it previously. It appeared to have a head like a snake and appeared black. It seemed to be very long and must have been extremely wide. I would say, roughly speaking, thickness must have been that of an average thigh, perhaps 2 thighs pressed together. It moved with rapidity and could be partly in and partly out of the water at the same time. It made straight for the center of the lake. I think must have been resting among the papyri when we disturbed it.
Okay, so why couldn't that just be a snake?
Well, maybe it is a kind of snake, but it wouldn't be a known snake if their description is accurate.
It couldn't be a snake that we already know about? Why?
Well, first of all, it's too big. And second of all, they said it swam with a bit of it. Where does it say? It moved rapidly and could be partly in and partly out of the water at the same time. Doesn't it sound like it's undulating up and down?
Well, because the on the cryptozoology fandom thing about Luquata, it says several explanations. Which story is this by? Who is this by?
It doesn't give the name of the wife. It was Major A.J. Ward. Wait.
Oh.
Director of Wife 960.
Well,
no, T. Coxon's wife. Sorry.
Anyway, some of the explanations have been African rock pythons, African softshell turtles, and a giant catfish. So it could have been a giant catfish.
Okay, but how can it be a catfish if it's seen resting on the shore?
This thing, for example, like I said, people see what they want to see, what they're expecting to see. The Wikipedia page also says the description could have been subconsciously influenced by accounts of the lake monster. People have already heard about it. They've heard about it from the locals. They've heard about it from the accounts written by the British people of the area. And then they see something and they go, oh my gosh, is it the thing? And then they look for the evidence that supports that.
I mean, I guess, but I don't see why then it would stop all of a sudden. Like if you look at that phenomena around like anywhere else, it persists to like modern day.
Well, maybe people just got tired of it. I don't know. Have there really been no sightings?
A lot less. There apparently, I don't know how accurate this is, but I've read somewhere that after a new dam was built, there was a couple of new sightings, possibly 2014. All I'm saying is...
Well, maybe you can explain it by all the big animals that were previously... maybe you could just say that all the big animals that were previously living in the lake, they can't survive anymore or something happened to them, or they're just less frequent. The pythons, the big catfish aren't getting as big anymore. Anything. There could be a lot of explanations besides, oh, we don't see it now and we did see it then, so it must have been real then.
But picture this, right? So at this time we have new or newish people moving to these areas and discovering them, in quotation marks. And I presume, this is a time where they're increasing probably industrialization and hunting is a big thing and habitat destruction to make way for countless things. If a large creature did live in the area, all of these things would be these are top of the list things that can lead to extinction, like habitat loss or loss of a prey species or less of a prey species. So I'm just wondering if it's possible that maybe there was another kind of, let's just say snake, but not the Central African rock python. Maybe something even larger, darker in color, that lived around the lake that on some occasions could be a little bit aggressive, probably not very often, and that in the late 1800s to early 1900s, maybe a handful of the last few, or maybe the last one in the area was spotted a few times, and that maybe the locals are more aware of it because, for generations they knew they knew somewhat of this creature, but, it went extinct. It wasn't able to reproduce. It wasn't able to survive.
Yeah, maybe. Or all that habitat change and other development made the big rock pythons, the big catfish, and the other things in the lake go away.
But we still have those animals around there. Like we still have rock pythons and catfish, but we don't have the sightings.
Maybe they weren't getting as big.
Maybe. I don't know. I think I've said everything I have to say on it. Do you have any final statements, closing arguments?
Yeah, I guess I've said everything I have to say. I just think that people were looking for something that they'd heard about, and maybe if they weren't sure what it was, they asked the locals to. They said, "Oh, I saw this thing in the water, and it did such and such a thing, and it looked like this." And the local said it's a lukwada because it fit into their myth. And so a lot of different sightings were conflated into one creature, and either a decrease in superstition, an increase in learning biology, or just more development leading to the animals not getting as big. They all came together to make these creatures' sightings less common. That's what I'll say.
All right.
But who knows? In the comments, please say who won.
Yeah. I'll take a little bit of what you're saying. I'll say, yeah, that might be part of it, but I think there's another part. But yeah, that's enough of that.
So yes, please tell us who convinced you, one way or the other.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on.
Okay. Next? Yeah, next is Q&A, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So you have some questions from the YouTube comments. So I guess I'll read them out.
Sure, go ahead.
So from XX Skies Skis maybe. If you could be any cryptid, what cryptid would you be?
Any thoughts?
My answer is I'd like to be the Thunderbird.
Ooh, why?
Because I want to be able to fly, and I really like stormy weather, so it would be fun to make it stormy all the time around me, and like the spark of electricity through my wings. That would be great. Yeah. And worshipped. Yeah. I'd be worshipped.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I'm really struggling to think of one. What would be a fun cryptid to be?
The Sigbin.
The Sigbin? So I could drink blood?
Yeah. Really stinky and lives in a clay pot. Or jar. Be
a cryptid. I mean, I guess if some of these large bipedal apes exists in certain parts of the world and apparently have little societies and stuff.
So you want to be a large bipedal ape that lives in a society? And is really hairy? How is that different from you as you are now?
I'm not that hairy. I don't know. I don't know what I should want. Because I don't want to be a really lonely cryptid. Yeah. I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see if they're real, how they survive and how they communicate and everything.
Yeah. They probably mumble a lot through their chin.
Yeah, it fit right in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for the next question that was left on? I think these people asked you on one of the podcast uploads, and then you said that you would answer their question on the podcast. So another one of those?
Sure.
Okay. From Potion Master. What do you think about the Vosges cryptid?
Vosges. Thank you for pronouncing that. So I hadn't heard of it before. I don't know how to pronounce
it. I just guessed.
So I tried to look it up, and I found 3 possible different cryptids that might have been this one. I found some crocodile creature. I had very little information about that. One was like a kind of a secretive goat that lived in the mountains. But then the third one, and the one I think they're referencing, is like the beast of Vasquez, a creature that was killing livestock.
Can I actually just say that we're pronouncing it really, really badly? I looked up how to pronounce it.
Oh, how do you pronounce it?
I think it's like Vosges. Vosges.
Vosges.
So we don't say Vasquez anymore. It's Vosges.
Vosges.
But please go on. The Vosges.
Okay, apologies to anyone
cryptid.
who speaks French. Yeah, I think.
France.
Yeah. I think it was some kind of a creature that was killing livestock in the Vosges region of France in the 1970s. Possibly a lone wolf. It's sort of interesting. There was one person who had like 2 pet guard wolves, and they think that they escaped and they tried to blame him, but then it turned out it had nothing to do with him, and it could have just been some other wolf. And there's like 1 or 2 blurry pictures of it. But some animal was definitely going around killing the livestock. I think it killed like 300 or something. So I guess it's sort of weird because it's like cryptid, but I don't want to get into the philosophy of it. But I guess this is a real cryptid-ish.
Yeah, to me it just seems like a wolf because people were saying it doesn't act the way a wolf would, but maybe it was something wrong with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like not all animals have to act typically all the time.
Right. And it was described as being canid looking, and there are wolves in that region. So yeah, I think it was probably a rogue wolf.
Yeah, or a wolf dog hybrid that was like, no one liked it because the wolves thought it was too dog-like, and the people thought it was too wolf-like, so then it was a little crazy and it was just hunting and killing. I don't know.
Yeah. Sad thing is a bunch of, like, I think at the time people just started killing any stray dog they came across.
Mm.
It didn't attack any humans, though. The cryptid, anyway. Or the beast. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to answer some questions from the email?
Yeah, we got an email.
Yeah, we got some emails. Or 1 email. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
So, this question comes from Michael. And he said, which cryptid or just wildly magnificent animal do you think has the best shot of being out there? I heard Forrest Galante talk... Is that his name? Forrest Gallant? Or I don't know.
Forrest Galante,
talk about a possible big snake in the Congo. So I'm curious on what animal you think has the best chance of being around that isn't fully discovered by science.
Do you have any thoughts? Or I can go really quick if you're...
I feel like if there are any cryptids in Papua New Guinea or the Amazon or some other really densely forested jungle region, I would say that's where the most likely ones are because it's so unexplored and so dense. Yeah. But I don't know any off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could say since I recently did it, like the thylacine, since, I mean, it went extinct relatively recently, and there are multiple locations where it's been cited. Yeah, and some cryptozoologists that I follow say that it's the most likely cryptid to still exist, or to exist. I guess that's one of them. I think in some cases, big cats being in weird places can also be true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know to the extent of they have an actual population, but like a few of them escaping or being released seems to have some evidence behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that picture of that snake?
I don't know what that means. I've seen a lot of pictures of snakes.
The one that Mr. Galante spoke about?
Nope. Why would I know about that?
I showed it to you a few years ago. I could tell you thought it didn't look real when I showed it to you. Basically, there's this photo from a helicopter pilot, and it supposedly shows a 50-foot snake in the Congo.
Mm.
It's like an aerial photograph of a huge snake. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give a quick shout out. Someone that I follow this morning, actually, I got this message from a great YouTuber called Truth is Scarier Than Fiction. And I'm one of his patrons on Patreon. And he had a poll about his next video that he's going to make. He makes cryptozoological videos. He makes a lot of videos, but a lot of them are about cryptozoology. But I really like him because he's very level-headed and logical. and he does like deep dives, and he does a lot of research like behind photos and uncovers them and finds out what the explanation is. But anyway, he did a poll about his next video, and it seems like he's going to do his next video on this snake photo. Apparently he's even speaking to helicopter pilots and getting them to look at it, I guess, to see if it's authentic or not. So I don't really know too much about it, but I'd recommend subscribing to him because I think he'll do a very good job trying to get to the bottom of it on his YouTube channel. So yeah, the truth is scarier than fiction. Subscribe to that guy. He's cool.
Okay. Yeah, those are all the questions.
Thanks for all the questions.
Finish it off with a comment. Just you guess the video the comment's from and you respond.
Sure.
All right. Here's the comment. Disliked for the sound effects.
I know exactly where that's from.
You do? You know exactly which video has the worst... What? Which one is it?
Do giant squid attack ships?
Yes, do giant squid attack. So what's up with the sound effects in that video?
You also complained about the sound effects.
Why does everyone seem to hate them?
I mean everyone. It's like you and this guy. Why does everyone
seem to hate them? Oh no, I saw lots of comments about it.
Oh really? Yeah, I guess I went overboard. I'll try and use less sound effects, less squishy and squashy sound effects than later videos. I don't know. I was trying to go for a real like creepy vibe, like a little bit almost Lovecraftian.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Squid Face Man vibe.
Yeah. But yeah, I went a bit overboard and I'll try and rein it in from now on. I think I reined it in after that video, but I'll keep it in mind.
Keep it in line.
Keep it in mind, I said.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to share today. Just one comment today. So
cool. Oh, we forgot to say, if you are listening and you want to send a question to us or a comment, or you want, I don't know, you just want us to read out something on the podcast, you can send it to thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com. That's thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com. Any question. Doesn't have to be cryptid related.
Any question.
Well, within reason.
Don't hold back. Don't hold back.
Hold back a little bit.
We want to hear it.
Okay, I guess that probably brings us to the end of this episode. Yep, you. Thanks for nodding. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to like it. And wherever you're listening to this, please feel free to share it. Spread it around. Let people know. Yes, and share it with everyone you know, any celebrities you know, so that they can be guests. Doesn't matter what they're famous for. Oof. We'll have them on the show. That's a can of worms. No, that's not true. But we spread it around. Yeah. Okay, thank you again for listening. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.